We're in chapter 8. This is actually video number 6. The last one I mistakenly said number 4, it was number 5. So this is number 6 in chapter 8 of The Manipulated Mind by Denise Flynn. But here again we are perhaps arguing semantics. By their own description of events in the Manson case, Shefflin and Opton show that the family girls were subjected to considerable pressure tailor-made to hit target their most vulnerable inner selves. Whether they were coerced into belief or willingly abdicated the responsibility for thinking, in outcome they became subservient to Manson's will. They were victims of their own human need for affection, warmth, security, their human failings of guilt and fear, and yearning for certainty in an uncertain world. Patty Hearst. Sudden political conversions can be achieved in much the same sorts of ways that work for religious conversions. Induced emotional fervor commands the same rallying power regardless of the end in mind. T.H. Walter, in Propaganda and Psychological Warfare, describes how Hitler did it. Uniforms, bands, flags, symbols were all part of the German propaganda machine, designed by Hitler and Goebbels to increase the impact of strong words by evidence of strong deeds. Meetings were not just occasions for people to make speeches, they were carefully planned theatrical productions in which settings, lighting, background music, and timing of entrances and exits were devised to maximize the emotional fervor of an audience already brought to fervor pitch by an hour or more of given over to singing and the shouting of slogans. The same psychological principles which serve to keep the religious convert converted also work to maintain the cohesion of political groups. The psychologist Andrew Molnar, who made an extensive study of the nature of insurgent groups, concluded that two principles were vital for the establishment and maintenance of group bonds. The first is that action shapes attitudes. Therefore, initiates tend to be required to carry out an act that proves allegiance to the cause. The second is conformity, which is ensured by self-criticism sessions, long, wearying, abstract discussions which exhaust participants, indoctrination sessions, and perhaps unexpectedly an accent on democracy within the group. Individuals are allowed to have their say and therefore believe that they are participating in decision-making, although the decision is likely to be made by the leader anyway. By giving power to people on committees, the same effect is achieved. The power only goes so far, but it is a sop to any divisive ambitions they may develop within the group. The most recent celebrated and contested case of political brainwashing was that of Patty Hearst. People usually appear to choose to join revolutionary groups, or they choose to attend the rallies where their emotions are whipped into fervor. But Patty Hearst did not choose to be exposed to the philosophy of the Revolutionary Party that kidnapped her. Did she ever have the chance to exercise choice in the events that ensued and culminated in her participation in attempted armed robbery for political ends? Patty Hearst, the daughter of the American millionaire, was kidnapped from her flat in Berkeley, which she shared with her fiancé in February 1974. 3 members of the Symbionese Liberation Army knocked at her door, forced their way in with guns, and then dragged Patty away to a flat in Daly City, where she was left gagged and blindfolded in a closet. She said at her trial that initially she didn't even know she was in a closet. She thought it was a coffin, and that the plan was to bury her alive. Several times that night, one of the revolutionary group threatened her with death if she tried to get away. The next day, one of the group, Sink, told Patty that her parents had committed crimes against the people and that she was going to be tried for them by the People's Court. He kept questioning her about her family's financial affairs in such a way, she said in court, that she felt he knew all the answers already. Throughout this and the next day, members of the group made a point of impressing on her that it made little difference to them whether she was killed or not. Patty spent 57 days in one closet or another. Shortly after the kidnap, she was made to demand on tape that her father meet the SLA's ransom demands. but she was being fed with information from the SLA that it was unlikely that the Hearst Corporation would come up with the money because her parents didn't care about her. Her mother was wearing a black dress. Everyone was talking about me like I was dead, Patty said. Although Patty remained blindfolded in the closet, the group started to talk to her about their revolutionary plans. They also told her that the huge food share-out for the poor, which was part of the ransom demand, had been a failure because the Hearsts weren't trying. They just wanted to provoke the SLA into murdering Patty. They started to train her to use guns, in case the FBI forced their way into the flat. Still, while she was in the closet, Patty testified 2 of the SLA made her have sex with them. She didn't offer resistance. A month later, the group moved to a new address in San Francisco. Patty was taken to a rubbish can and locked Patty once again in a closet. On April 1st, they let her out at last and told her they were going to let her go. Just before that time, Sank had spoken to her in the closet and told her that she in fact had the choice. She could go or she could stay and join the movement. William Harris, one of the SLA, put it this way: "We had to help Tanya," Patty was given a new name, "understand what it meant to each of us to be a guerrilla so that she could bring it to a personal level in her own head. On her part, she had to convince us that she was being honest, objective, and realistic." At the last second, before Tanya took off her blindfold, Sank reminded her that she could walk freely out of the door and that we would help her to return to her family and friends. We all wanted Tanya to stay, but we wanted to make sure that she saw all her options and was making a strong choice with no regrets or indecision. And I'll stop it right there, and we'll get back to what Patty Hearst decides to do. Did she stay or did she go? We are in Chapter 8, Sudden Conversion of the Manipulated Mind.